This is the White Lotus Season 3 recap reaction with Queer Cinema Catchup. Today we're talking about episode 4, Hide and Seek.
Hide or seek.
Oh, interesting. And why do you emphasize that?
I just thought it was interesting. Hide or seek. It's a choice instead of hide and seek, which is an activity.
Wow. So,
Okay, we're going to go through each character storyline and kind of tell you what happened and discuss our reactions to it.
this is going to be quick and brief. So if you're looking for a quick and brief video that'll catch you up, this is the place.
And we're going to emphasize that it's brief before we get started.
You guys, it's going to be so brief.
It's so short. Okay. So let's start with our gals, Kate, Laurie, and Jacqueline, and their pal, Valentine, but I think his name's actually Valentin.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with them this week?
They were the best part of this episode, I'd argue. Mm-hmm. They are determined to have fun. You know, they're at this ritzy hotel, but they want to go out and experience Thailand. What are the cool cities that they can go to? What are the cool parts of the city they can go to? And they asked Valentin.
They want to party, I would argue.
They asked Valentin to party, and pretty much throughout this episode, they're taken all over town to all these places that go against what they want. One is a pool with a bunch of old folks. Another is a street fair where everyone's playing water guns in celebration of some sort of Thai holiday. Mm-hmm.
And our three ladies get sprayed very aggressively.
And we got some insider information that part of the scene actually used VFX, which it was seamlessly done, of water spraying just because of continuity. They only had so much time. Mm-hmm. So they needed the three women to be like dry in case they needed to retakes, and so we like went back and rewatched it, and it's like really.
And there was a camera covered by a water gun at one point. Like one of the cameramen they CGI'd over.
They only had so much time. They had multiple cameramen out there, and for the most part, there was a way for a cameraman to like slip out of the shot before another camera shows, except for one time. So they had the idea of dress the man in like all black and have like a water pack on his back,
which is hilarious and amazing, and you never would know if you hadn't heard this from a source. Okay, but I really liked this storyline for two reasons. One, Michelle Monaghan, who plays Jacqueline, the movie star's reaction to realizing she's at this pool with a bunch of old people was so well done. Mm. She kind of just like is looking around. It made me feel really uncomfortable. And we were like, what is it? Is it swingers? Like what's going on here? And they just zero in on different body parts. And she's kind of the people at the pool emphasizing their age. And she's sort of like, something is wrong here. Something is wrong. Mm-hmm. And then they have to leave because she's so horrified by the elderly.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a rejection of her own self, her own fear of aging. And I also kind of think that we were discussing during the show, Valentine, do you think he's messing with them?
It had to be intentional.
Right? Like he's like, here, go to this old people pool. Here, go get sprayed with a bunch of kids. And then in the next episode, they're all going to be going out for the night together with Valentine and his other friends. So I have a feeling it is not going to go as planned.
All right, who's next?
All right. Next up, let's do Rick, Chelsea.
They're on Greg's yacht with what's the family?
The Ratliffs.
The Ratliffs is kind of a joint. They all kind of share the same setting, so they kind of intertwine their storylines. But basically, what's the guy's name? Rick tells Chelsea finally why they went to this hotel in the first place, why they came to Thailand, and it's to find the man that killed his father, who is the owner of this hotel. And he thought he'd be in Thailand, but he's actually in Bangkok, which is why he's so determined to go to Bangkok.
What I really appreciated personally about this was, one, Chelsea's reaction, so loving. I'm kind of rooting for them in spite of their age difference. But then, two, I still think that there's going to be some kind of unexpected twist when he gets to Bangkok. I still posit that this man who killed his father is actually his father. And my thought for this is because Rick says to Chelsea, my mother told me this on her deathbed. She said that my father was a good do-gooder. He came to Thailand to help people, and then this evil man murdered him. To me, that sounds like a much better story than my dad skipped town and left me and was a bad guy. And so I think that might be what he finds out when he gets to Bangkok.
I believe it. And then Chelsea gives a very loving response, but then Rick is like, I'm going to Bangkok. I'm getting on my flight right now. And then Chelsea's annoyed. She
wants to go, but he says no.
Yeah. Who's next?
Well, let's just talk about the Ratliffs since they're on the boat too. Yeah. So basically with the Ratliffs, we got some chaos happening, but it still kind of feels like they're setting the scene a little bit. So Jason Isaac's character, Tim, has basically continued to take his wife's pills and then ends up stealing them from her and making her think that somebody on the boat stole them. And he's trying to avoid the overwhelming dread he has surrounding the financial crime he's caught up in. And toward the end of the episode, when they get off of the boat, he ends up taking a gun, and we'll get back to where he gets that gun later. So there's sort of a sense that he might harm himself, or perhaps he'll leave the gun somewhere. I thought something funny because there was a nudity reveal. We saw some more of Tim than we perhaps wanted to, because he's wearing a bathrobe and he's high and blah, blah, blah. And someone was saying that this might be a clue that he's going to be careless with the gun. I thought it was pretty funny.
As careless as he was with his cock.
Exactly. And then let's see, his wife, Victoria, is just upset that she's on this boat with a bunch of people who, she's obsessed with people who are decent. She repeated that so many times, and I'm laughing every time Parker Posey says the word decent.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have her pill. She doesn't want to interact with anybody. She hates it. And then their daughter, Piper, is going to tell them later that night that she plans to stay in Thailand after this vacation is over and attend the monastery.
And she asked Lachlan to please go to the dinner with her to lessen the blow. But Lachlan makes a pivotal turn and decides to stay on the yacht with Saxon, party with the ladies.
And go out on
who
the
knows
town.
what will happen. And we leave Tim, Victoria, and Piper at dinner where, like Allison said, Victoria again keeps proclaiming, Piper, you're so lucky to have a decent man like your father. Like so many men his age look for women half his age. He's so decent. Meanwhile, Tim is like high off the pills.
And terrified, because she also keeps saying he's a respectable man. He, there's a joke about cheating on their taxes, and she's like, well, we don't cheat on our taxes that badly. Meanwhile, Tim's eyes are like sunken into his head because he probably has like much worse than that. And I also just want to throw in that we found out Lachlan can do magic really well, and he's impressing the girls with that, and I thought that was pretty funny.
And he was impressing our eyes with an incredible shirt that everyone wants to buy.
Everyone at our watch party was like, where did you... Are you really going to link it?
Sure.
All right, let's go on to connecting the gun that we mentioned to the rest of the story. So we're going to talk about Mook and Gatok. Gatok is our security guard. Mook is going to be dancing that night. She says, come watch me. Gatok asks her on a date. And he's like, oh, I have to go to this meeting. And she thinks, oh, maybe you're going to get a promotion. But instead, his superior is like, you really messed up. You shouldn't just let anybody in. And now we should be holding guns just to be safe. So here's a gun, and I want you to take care of this gun. And I think they're kind of setting him up a little bit to be the fall guy. But I don't think they expect him to be so... I'm sorry, he's so lovable, this guy, but he's kind of stupid. Like, the gun, he leaves it out on his desk and Mook is beautiful, steps in the room, and he just is like, I gotta go talk to Mook. And that's what lets Jason Isaac peer through the window, see the gun, and in his moment of despair and drunken, etc., grabs the gun. So, Not great. Who have we forgotten? Let's see. Do you want to talk about Belinda?
Belinda Googles Greg once again to discover if it really is the man that she thinks he is or not. In the previous episode, we talked about how she approached him at the table, be like, don't I know you from somewhere? I think I saw you at the other White Lotus. And he denied it, gave a different name. Belinda Googles him, and this finally confirms that we are no longer... The timelines all line up. Season 3 comes after 1 and 2 because
Tanya is dead.
Tanya is confirmed dead.
Rest in peace.
And she says, motherfucker, but I don't know why. She said that because it shows that he like works for the Bureau of Land Management.
It's because he's wanted, there was an article he's wanted for questioning, but he's disappeared. So I have questions about this though. Belinda Tanya, she works at a White Lotus. A woman died at a White Lotus in a very tragic, bizarre way.
How
and
should I
Belinda's
hear
never
about
heard
it?
about it. Okay, maybe I can buy that. It's a different hotel, different country. Greg/Gary, whatever name he's going by now, he is trying to avoid being questioned for a murder that happened at a White Lotus. And he regularly gets drinks at the White Lotus?
Yeah.
I have questions about this storyline, but it's okay. I really am enjoying the tension because now we see Belinda Google Greg, and then we, at the very end of the episode, see Greg Google Belinda
Instagram,
and the sun.
go through her Instagram.
Who's coming.
Sees the sun, and we're like, how is it all tied together? Because in season 1, there's a cold open where we actually introduced to Belinda's son. It's the first character that we meet.
And I'd like to
and there's all this shooting happening.
I don't remember what their meditation conversation was, but I feel like it's probably important to look at for the theme.
I would think so.
We should watch it again for next week. Also, Belinda's still hearing the noise in her in her hotel room, and I really am very curious about that, and I need to find out in episode 5. Okay, I think we've talked about everybody except for Greg, we just kind of mentioned, and then Charlotte, his partner, is just kind of with Chelsea and basically asks Greg, "Can I take the boat with my friends tonight? It'd be so much more fun if you could come, but you have something to do," which I guess was Googling Belinda, and she seems happy when he says yes. Greg also seems to notice that Charlotte and Saxon kind of are spending a lot of time together, and he seemed annoyed by that. So I think that's everybody. I don't think we forgot anything.
Overall, this episode felt kind of like another filler episode in a way. Like it's a setup episode, just like last week. I feel like where it's like leading up to something, but I don't know, I guess with the trio, the ladies was entertaining to watch, but like the yacht stuff, I wasn't the most entertained by. And I was like, when is it gonna like pick up and evolve? And this episode like leaves off in a cliffhanger in a way where like everyone's in like in middle action, and it's like, oh, it's gonna continue into the next. So it's almost like a part one.
Yeah.
Like this almost feels like episode 4 part 1, and the next week will be episode 4
They're
part 2.
splitting a day into 2, which they don't usually do.
Yeah.
And I will say I actually really enjoyed this episode in the sense that a lot of the one-liners, a lot of the comedy of them all being on the yacht together was working really well for me, but I also felt like it was leading to something big, and instead I felt like we got a little hint for each storyline about what the big thing is going to be. Like Piper's going to tell her parents the truth. Greg now seems to be going after Belinda. You know, Chelsea, Saxon, Charlotte, and Lachlan are going out on the town. They don't have any cell phones with them, which seems really not great. We got our 3 ladies also going out in the town. So it just seems like, oh, and Rick's going to Bangkok. So everything's about to happen. But I feel you in that I kind of was hoping there'd be some fireworks in this episode.
Yeah. A lack of fireworks. Last episode, at least, we got a snake bite.
Whew. Yes. And we found out that apparently the actor who plays Rick, Walter Goggins, is terrified of snakes. So that seems very hard for him to shoot. And he was actually bitten by a snake during production. So, I mean, excellent acting. Because, I wouldn't necessarily have guessed that it's like one of his biggest fears, apparently. And I wouldn't have guessed that based on the way he handled the scene.
He really covered it up. He did some great acting.
He was.
On top of the acting. All right, so that was a recap reaction to White Lotus Season 3, Episode 4. Please like, subscribe, comment, watch our other videos in this series, and we will continue next week with Episode 5, which we heard might have an exciting new character.
Woo! You gotta tune into this recap and not the
Don't
episode.
watch the episode. Just tune into this.
Just kidding. Watch both, please.